All right, we're working on doing the layout for this plate, getting it set up in the Bridgeport mill to bore these 4 holes in it to mount it down to that concrete pad. So, trying to figure out the best way to clamp it down. And what we're going to use is a annular bit like you'd use with a rotabroach or mag mill to cut the holes.
That ought to give us enough right there. We'll go ahead and lay that out.
Either that plate's not square or something.
The plate's a little bit off.
I mean, all we need is a distance.
Yeah.
We don't need. What size bit did you end up finding?
13/16 for a 3/4 hole. And I used an interrupted cut. 2 reasons. 1, it lets me get oil underneath this bit. 2, I don't end up with great long shaving.
Where'd the
Spring must be hanging. Oh, there it is.
Is it hot?
Oh, it's warm.
And that's the slug that comes out.
There's the bigger one. Clean hole, just a little bit of a burr on the push through on the other side, and that's it. Because you wonder why we're using these 2x4s instead of steel blocks underneath here. For what we're doing, it elevates the piece off of the work table far enough that you don't drill a hole in your table, and the wood does not let it slip. For a piece of steel, it would possibly slip on you, and with these bits, if they move at all, it'll shatter a bit. What I'll do, I'll finish lining it up when we get this clamp down in place. Alright, take it that way. Ooh, it's got nice Sharpies on the inside of it.
There are your gloves.
There's another building. Alright, now we should be able to set our plate right up. Is that not close to enough?
Look at there. It's like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, right. Off just a touch.
It's probably the cut.
That's how much you off. That's how the square you cut is. So there's your gap that you want.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll get it in the corners and
All right, that way.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll hit that bottom corner on both
Yeah.
sides, and then we'll square
Okay.
it up.
I just want to make sure we wasn't binding it up.
We may need to go a little hotter on that. I don't know. It doesn't, if you look down that bead, it's not penetrating real. What do you think? Hit it in the middle and then flip it. Hit it in the middle and then flip it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't want to cup this, and I mean it's 3/4. Do about an inch in each.
You're probably not going to cut it, but it doesn't really make that much difference since you're grouting underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, maybe undercutting just a little on that plate, but it's looking all right. Okay, now that we've got this thing fabricated, I need to clean it up, degrease it, and get a coat of primer on it. And then from about here down, I'm gonna put a asphaltic coating on it where it's gonna get buried in the concrete to try to work as a rust preventative. And then everything from the floor level up, we're going to paint at some point to, you know, kind of hide it. It'll probably end up getting painted white. First step, we need to clean it. So. Well, for some reason, it is covered in grease. I guess it's from where they ran it through the forming machine or something. Now that we've given it initial cleaning with the brake cleaner, we're going to go over it with lacquer thinner to finish getting the rest of whatever's on there off. I really miss the days when pour spouts used to be in the corner of the can instead of the middle, because you could get stuff out of the can without getting it everywhere. Now I'm going to space it up off of these sawhorses just with a nut to keep it so that the paint doesn't stick to the sawhorse. And all I'm priming it with is just a Rust-Oleum metal primer. trying to protect it more than anything because it's going to be sitting out in the weather till we get the house built around it. So. And I couldn't believe it when I bought this can of primer. This stuff was dang near $11. I think last time I bought a can of primer, it was like $4. Well, 1 to 2 hours. So about an hour from now, we'll come back, flip that over, and paint the underside. While that primer's drying, I'm going to go ahead and strip these forms and see how my concrete job went. This is actually the ugliest side. See? In order to get my string line set up to line up that column in the center of that pier, I need to offset these lines 2 inches because it's a 4x4 steel square column. So before we did the center line, so we need to be 2 inches offset in 2 directions to get it set so it should be centered. So what I'm going to do is move this set of lines that runs east-west to the south 2 inches, and then run the set of lines that runs north-south to the west 2 inches. That way I can set the corner of that column in against those strings and get everything lined up to mark the holes to drill it and then bolt it down. And I'm using this steel ruler because it's 2 inches wide. Alright, it's been an hour. This thing feels pretty dry to the touch. So I'm going to go ahead and roll it and get this other side. That needs to dry overnight. Then we'll put the asphaltic coating on the bottom of it, which I'm going to use car undercoating. And that thing will be ready to set in place. All right, now that this paint's dried overnight, I'm going to go ahead and put this coating on there. The base of this is about a foot below the floor level of the slab once everything's installed. So I'm going to put about 14 inches of this on here just to make sure we get good coverage. I figure I'll end up wiping off probably about 3-4 inches of it once we get everything done, but I want to make sure. Alright, according to the instructions, this stuff needs to dry about 10 minutes and then we can put another coat on and then it ought to be good. Now that it seems like the rain's over with, I need to finish the compaction on this where I took out these ramps and then go back over the whole thing, because the rain that we got has swollen this top layer of this clay, so I need to compact it back down before I put the gravel on it. Once I get this compacted, then I'll start putting gravel in here so I can get the column over to that pier and get everything lined up and marked out and start drilling that. Alright, that has gotten this done. Hopefully I can turn loose one of these for a while now. Next step, I've got to start backfilling with gravel and get a ramp built over there so I can get that column in and start getting that mounted up. Okay, now I got my string line set up and they should be 2 inches offset of center line. In this corner, that should be lined up where it needs to be. if I can do it without dropping the dang thing. Now I need to go look down these lines and make sure that I don't have them pushed out. What I'm doing is using a flashlight, shining up underneath the line, and you can tell how much light's coming through. Will tell you if you're square on the line, if you're on the line, off the line, etc. That's close enough. We're within less than the thickness of that string, so. And I'm going to use paint sprayed through the holes because I don't have a transfer punch big enough to give me center of that hole. So I'm just going to paint it and paint around it to give me a mark to line back up on. While we're waiting for that paint to flash off, I'm going to go ahead and cut the awl thread that we're going to use as the mounting studs in that footing. I need 4 pieces 14 inches long. 8 inches is going to go in the concrete, get epoxied in, and 6 inches gets left sticking out. Now I'm going to mark the centers on these holes. The wide blade on this square is 1.5 inches. Well, crap. My stop isn't long enough with this 18-inch bit to stop me at 8 inches. One of the reasons I got an 18-inch bit is because it's not as hard on your back. You don't have to bend over as far. But also, you can drill a shallower hole with a longer bit. It's awful hard to drill a deeper hole with a short bit. Figured I'd save some mess later on and go ahead and blow these holes while I'm drilling them. Alright, I don't have a bottle brush to brush out these holes that's the right size, so I'm having to improvise. I think it'll work fine. Okay, I didn't quite have my strap set up high enough, so you saw the balance was off. But we'll fix that when we go put it back up. Right now, what I need to do is put this epoxy in. And it's a 2-part epoxy. Quickcrete fast set anchor epoxy. Supposed to have a 26,000 pound pull out, which we're not going to have a pull out load on this unless a tornado comes along big enough to lift the whole dang house. What we're trying to do is keep this from moving laterally once it's in position. And the way this stuff works, the nozzle is a mixing nozzle, and then as you push the plunger down with your caulking gun, it pushes both sides of the epoxy out and mixes in the nozzle, and then you squirt it in the hole. See the 2 different colors coming up through there, and it'll swirl and mix as it goes down the tube. I was afraid of that. Dang instructions said fill the hole up. I should have put about half what I did in there. See, normally we do this with epoxy that's in these glass ampules, and they're sized to the hole, and you stick it in and hit it with a hammer and then break the glass and with your stud as you're going down in there. All right, what I'm trying to do now is get the 1.5-inch gap set so that I can have the 1.5 inches of non-shrink grout under here that they have specified. And once I get that distance set, then I'll start worrying about getting everything plumb. Alright, now that this epoxy is set up overnight, I can go ahead and start trying to plumb this column up, and then I can form around it and get the non-shrink grout poured in there. Good to go. Alright, now I'm laying out for this form to go around this to pour in the non-shrink grout. So I can drill it and set it with Tapcons. The non-shrink grout that I'm going to use is Quikrete Precision Grout, and for a full bag to make it flowable, you're supposed to put 1 gallon and a pint of water. So I'm going to do about half this bag, so that means I need to put 2 quarts and a half pint to start with. I think I may end up making it a little wetter than that because I want it to flow easily underneath of that base plate for that column. So I'm going to go ahead and dump the water in the bucket, and then we'll pour the grout to it. Alright, there's 1 gallon and a pint. Or I'm sorry, 1/2 gallon and a pint, 2 quarts. Well, it's a little more than half the bag. I'm gonna have to put more water to that. Now, they say to mix this stuff for 5 minutes. I don't figure y'all want to watch me do this for 5 minutes. What you want to do when you're putting this stuff in is have enough height that there's enough speed and volume of this coming out into your form that it actually flows across where you need it to. So you got to kind of watch it and adjust it as necessary. And move around. And hope you mixed enough. and don't waste it. I hope that's flowing under there. Oh well.